I had the chance to ask the wee iceman, as they called him in Scotland, a question, the answer of which I always remember. And that question was, Mr. Hogan, how nervous did you get when you were playing in a golf tournament? And his answer was, Tom, I got so nervous I was jumping out of my skin. And to me, that confirmed that we all get nervous, no matter if it's the great Ben Hogan or you playing for $1 Nassau. Pressure is the fear, the anxiety of being in competition and failing. One of the things I found myself doing early in my career when I was choking and not competing well at the end of a golf tournament was that I was walking too fast. And I was also rushing my decision making and also was rushing my golf swing. What helped me the most was a tip that Byron Nelson gave me, and also Lanny Wadkins. Said, Tom, when you're under pressure, walk just a beat slower. And that ties in with a tip that a man sent me by letter one time. He said, if you swing with the thinking of the term Edelweiss in your mind, Edelweiss like this, Edelweiss like that, you will get your rhythm back. And that rhythm translates to another visual that I have when I'm under pressure, and it's the great Sam Snead, who used to be here as the pro emeritus at the Greenbrier Resort. Sam had the most beautiful rhythm of anybody I ever saw. And I always pictured his rhythm when I was under the heat and I was losing my rhythm. I pictured Sam's rhythm. The little cock of the head this way, and just the smoothness and the power that he accelerated. And I had that visual in my mind because I had watched that rhythm. I watched that swing a lot. When you're under pressure, I think the number one reason you fail is that you hold onto the club too tightly. I see veins sticking out of their arms with the white, and we call it the white knuckles, where your knuckles are just absolutely white with pressure like this. When you have that much pressure in the golf club, you lose your rhythm. You also lose your hand speed, and it makes you go faster with your swing when you have heavy grip pressure on the golf club. I think a very clear success story about thinking about your grip pressure under pressure came when I was playing at Turnberry back in the 90s, and Greg Norman was leading the tournament. And we're having dinner, Jack Nicklaus and I and our wives. Greg came to the table. Jack had a very short conversation with Greg. Greg thanked Jack and left. And I said, Jack, what'd you say to him? And he said, just maintain a constant grip pressure tomorrow, meaning Sunday. Greg went out and won the golf tournament with a very fine last round. Now the last thing is, how about preparing ahead of time, which also can reduce the effects of pressure. Now I go back to 2009 at Turnberry when I had a good chance of winning the tournament. Prior to the tournament play, I knew the wind was going to change directions from where it was in all three practice rounds from the south to the northwest on Friday. It was going to change and be in the northwest on Friday. I also knew that I was probably the only player in the field, or maybe a handful of players in the field, who had ever played with a northwest wind at Turnberry. So it gave me somewhat of an advantage to know how that course played under those conditions. That in itself helped reduce the pressure of a changing golf course, because the golf course really hadn't changed for me. I knew how to play the golf course. For the other players, it added an element of pressure on them. It gave me a sense that I had an advantage over the entire field in that tournament, and maybe that was one of the reasons I did so well.